They say America is the land of dreams, but for some, it's where nightmares are born. From the fog-choked mountains of Tennessee to the haunted halls of Los Angeles. From ghost brides whispering through the desert winds of El Paso to the watchers in the dark, lurking behind mail slots in New Jersey. These are not stories born from the minds of fiction writers. They are echoes of the real, the unexplained, and the deeply disturbing. Tonight, we invite you to journey through 4 true American horror stories, told in the most chilling way possible. Each one narrated in the voice of someone who lived through it, or maybe didn't live to tell it. Dim the lights, put your headphones on, and prepare yourself, because once you start listening, they start watching. The arrival I moved to Adams, Tennessee in the summer of 2021, seeking solace and a fresh start. The town, with its rich history and quiet charm, seemed like the perfect escape from the chaos of city life. I rented a small farmhouse on the outskirts, unaware of the dark legend that loomed over the land. The legend unveiled. Soon after settling in, I heard whispers about the Bell Witch, a malevolent spirit that tormented the Bell family in the early 1800s. Locals spoke of eerie occurrences, disembodied voices, objects moving on their own, and an oppressive presence that lingered in the air. The tales were unsettling, but I dismissed them as folklore. The first encounter. One night as I lay in bed, I heard faint knocking on the walls. Assuming it was the house settling, I ignored it. But the knocking persisted, growing louder and more insistent. Then came the whispers, indistinct at first, but gradually forming words. Leave now. A chill ran down my spine. The descent, the disturbances escalated. Furniture moved on its own, lights flickered, and I felt an unseen force watching me. Sleep became elusive, and my sanity began to fray. I sought help from a local historian who confirmed the house's connection to the Bell Witch legend. He warned me to leave, but I was determined to uncover the truth. The revelation digging through old records, I discovered that my farmhouse stood on land once owned by the Bell family. The witch's torment had centered around this very area. I realized I was not just a bystander, I was part of the story. The witch had returned, and I was her new target. The confrontation desperate, I confronted the spirit, demanding to know what it wanted. In a voice that echoed through the house, it replied, "Justice." Visions of the past flooded my mind, of betrayal, suffering, and a curse that had never been lifted. The witch sought retribution, and I was the conduit. The escape realizing the danger, I fled the farmhouse, leaving behind my belongings and the life I had tried to build. The town of Adams faded in my rearview mirror, but the memories remained. Even now I feel her presence, a reminder that some legends are rooted in truth. The haunting continues. The Bell Witch's curse endures, a testament to the darkness that can linger in the shadows of history. My experience serves as a warning. Some stories are best left untold, and some spirits should never be disturbed. The arrival I moved to El Paso in the spring of 2019, drawn by a job opportunity and the promise of a fresh start. The city, with its sun-baked streets and vibrant culture, felt like a world away from the gray monotony of my previous life. I found a modest apartment near downtown, close to the historic districts that whispered tales of the past. One evening, while exploring the neighborhood, I stumbled upon a quaint bridal shop nestled between 2 aging buildings. Its window display featured a mannequin in a vintage wedding gown, so lifelike it sent a shiver down my spine. The locals called her La Pascualita, and the stories surrounding her were as unsettling as her glassy stare. The legend curiosity led me to delve into the legend of La Pascualita. According to local lore, the mannequin was the embalmed corpse of the shop owner's daughter, who died tragically on her wedding day. Some claimed she was bitten by a black widow spider, others whispered of a car accident. Shortly after her death, the mannequin appeared in the shop window, bearing an uncanny resemblance to the deceased bride. The more I learned, the more I felt an inexplicable pull toward the shop. I began visiting regularly, captivated by the eerie beauty of the mannequin and the sorrowful tale she embodied. The obsession. My visits became a daily ritual. I would stand outside the shop watching La Pascualita through the glass, convinced that her eyes followed me. I started dreaming of her, Vivid, haunting dreams where she would beckon me into the shop, her lips parting to whisper secrets I couldn't comprehend. I confided in a coworker, Maria, about my experiences. She warned me to stay away, sharing stories of others who had become obsessed with the mannequin, only to descend into madness. I laughed it off, but deep down, I felt a growing unease. The encounter one night, unable to resist, I returned to the shop after hours. The street was deserted, the city cloaked in silence. To my surprise, the door was ajar. I stepped inside, the air thick with the scent of decay and old roses. La Pascualita stood in the center of the room, her eyes gleaming in the dim light. As I approached, a sudden gust slammed the door shut behind me. The room grew colder, and I felt a presence envelop me. She moved, her head tilted, her eyes locked onto mine, and her mouth opened in a silent scream. I stumbled back, fleeing into the night, her image burned into my mind. The descent. After that night, my life unraveled. I couldn't sleep, haunted by visions of La Pascualita. I saw her reflection in mirrors, her silhouette in shadows. My apartment felt oppressive, the walls closing in. I sought help, but no one believed me. They said it was stress, an overactive imagination, but I knew the truth. She was real, and she was coming for me. The revelation desperate for answers, I returned to the shop, determined to confront the source of my torment. The building was abandoned, the windows boarded up. I broke in, navigating the darkness until I found her, standing amidst the dust and decay. I demanded to know what she wanted. In response, a voice echoed in my mind, a chorus of sorrow and longing. She was trapped, a soul bound to this world by grief and betrayal. She sought release, and I was the key. The sacrifice. I understood then what I had to do. I retrieved the mannequin, carrying her to Concordia Cemetery under the cover of night. The cemetery, known for its haunted reputation, seemed the fitting place to lay her to rest. I dug a grave, placing her within, whispering a prayer for peace. As I covered her with earth, a sense of calm washed over me. The air grew still, the oppressive weight lifted. The aftermath life slowly returned to normal. The nightmares ceased and the shadows receded. But sometimes in the quiet moments, I feel her presence, a gentle reminder of the sorrow that once was. La Pascualita rests now, her story a cautionary tale of love, loss, and the thin veil between the living and the dead. The letter I never believed in curses or haunted houses. That was all Hollywood nonsense, or so I thought, until I moved into 657 Boulevard. I had just gotten promoted, and after a decade of scraping by in a shoebox Brooklyn apartment, my wife Emily and I were ready for more space, a fresh start. Our daughter Lily was 5, an age full of wonder, laughter, and unfiltered honesty. So when we saw the colonial-style house in Westfield, with its wide porch and sprawling lawn, it felt right, like it had been waiting for us. It was on the second day, while unpacking boxes in the kitchen, that I found the letter. No return address, cream envelope, elegant cursive, dearest new resident of 657 Boulevard. How did you get here? Did 657 call to you with its whispers? It has been watching, for a long time. And now that you've arrived, so begins the next chapter. I will be watching. The Watcher. I chuckled uneasily, thinking it was a local prank, something bored teenagers might do. Emily didn't laugh. Scratches in the walls. 3 days in, and Lily complained about noises at night. The walls are whispering, she told me. I checked her room. Nothing. The boiler made old house sounds. I assured her it was just air in the pipes. That night, while lying in bed, I heard it too. A slow scratching, like fingernails against wood. Not in the attic, not from outside, from inside the walls. When I pressed my ear to the plaster, I could swear I heard a voice. Not a whisper, not a scream, just breathing. Names they shouldn't know. The second letter arrived in a red envelope, slid under our door in the middle of the night. Lily is such a sweet name, so young, so fragile. Will she sleep well when she hears what happened in the basement? Don't worry, the house remembers. It always remembers. And now it remembers you. The Watcher. We hadn't told anyone our daughter's name. I checked the security cams I had installed on day one. Motion sensors hadn't triggered. No cars on the street. No one on foot. It was like the letter had simply appeared. Emily wanted to call the police. I convinced her not to. What would we say? A house is watching us? We'd sound crazy. But deep down, I started to wonder if we already were. The basement door. We avoided the basement. It smelled like rust and mold, always cold even in summer. The stairs creaked like old bones. One night I woke up thirsty. On my way to the kitchen, I passed the basement door. Ajar. I know I had locked it earlier. As I approached, a low groan escaped from the depths. The kind of sound that doesn't belong in a house. Animalistic, slow, wet. I turned on the light and stared down the staircase. The bulb above the bottom step flickered, and then went out. A shape moved just out of reach of the light. Then the door slammed shut in my face. The man in the attic. We called in a priest. I didn't care if it looked ridiculous. He sprinkled holy water, said prayers, muttered something about dark presence, feeding. That night I caught movement on the hallway camera upstairs. A tall, shadowy figure pacing between the attic door and Lily's room. I sprinted upstairs, adrenaline blinding me. Attic door open. Lily, asleep, no one else there. But I noticed something on the attic steps. A footprint, bare, muddy, too large to be mine. Secrets in the blueprints. Out of desperation, I went to the local records office. I needed answers. Anything. I found original blueprints from 1902, and something curious. A sealed room beneath the basement, not on any inspection report, no access marked, just a crude note scrawled on the edge. Do not open. It hungers. I came home and tore apart the basement wall. Behind it, a tunnel. At the end, a rusted iron door. Locked, but not for long. The room that breathed it took bolt cutters and more courage than I had, but I got in. Inside, a room with no windows, no furniture, just walls covered in tally marks, thousands of them, and something else, a single rocking chair, moving, back and forth, and the air, it was wrong in there, heavy, charged, like the static before a storm, and it breathed. The room exhaled hot, sour air. On the wall behind the chair, carved deep, watching, always, I ran. The third letter. You opened the door. That was not wise. 657 is alive now. It sees through you. It knows your fears. You belong to it. Let Lily go. She is still unspoiled. But you opened the door. There is no closing it now. I burned the letter, but the words burned hotter in my mind. Sleepwalking. Lily began sleepwalking. We found her standing in the basement one night, eyes open but blank, humming. When I tried to lift her, she whispered, "He's in the walls." Emily started seeing things too, reflections that didn't match reality. Herself standing behind her in the mirror, grinning. The lights flickered even when the power was off. The house was waking up. Breaking point. I boarded up the basement, replaced doors, slept with a knife. Emily wanted to leave. I agreed. But the next morning our tires were slashed. The front door deadbolt jammed shut from the inside. A new note waited on the dining table. You don't leave 657, it leaves you. The Watcher's truth. One night I dreamed of the house, not in blueprints but alive, pulsing, veined, and beneath it, the Watcher. Not a man, not a ghost, something else, a consciousness. Fed by fear, by generations of blood, it didn't just observe, it became those it watched. And now, it was me. Possession, I started forgetting things, losing time, finding things I didn't remember buying, scratches on my arms, a mirror shattered without being touched, the pieces arranged in a single word. Watch. Emily and Lily left. I made them go. The house didn't fight it. It wanted me. Only me. 657 watches. Still I live alone now. No more letters, no more footsteps. But I feel it. Watching me from every crack in the wall, every creak of the floor. I've become its caretaker, its storyteller. It feeds on belief, on curiosity. And now that you've heard my story, it's watching you too. The cold that listens. They say the wind in the Sierra Nevada can sing if you're quiet enough. I used to think that was poetic. Now I know better. Wind doesn't sing, not here. It watches, it waits, it remembers. I'm the only one left. And even I'm not whole anymore. What we found in that forest, the thing behind what happened to the Yuba County Five, was never meant to be unearthed. Some doors don't open with keys, some doors open with fear, and once they're open, they never close again. Return to Buckskin Ridge. My name is Adam Vexler. I was a local journalist when this all started. Back in 1978, the mysterious deaths of the Yuba County Five became national headlines. 5 men, Bill Sterling, Jack Madruga, Ted Wire, Jack Hewitt, and Gary Mathias, went missing in the Plumas National Forest. Months later, 4 bodies were found scattered across the woods under bizarre circumstances. The 5th, Gary Mathias, was never found. Their car, a Mercury Montego, was discovered in fine condition, abandoned miles off course. Wire's body, starved and frostbitten, was wrapped in sheets inside a trailer stocked with food. Hewitt's remains were gnawed to bone. Sterling and Madruga had died of exposure. Nobody could explain it. I tried. I was just a fresh college graduate when it happened, interning at the Oroville Gazette. I'd begged my editor to let me cover it. When he refused, I went up there myself, took photos, asked locals, even hiked part of the trail. But I never published what I found. No one would have believed me. Now I'm dying, not of cancer or heart failure, something colder, something slower. Before I go, I need to write it down. Everything I remember, everything I wish I didn't. The man in the cabin. It started with a phone call, February 1993. A man claiming to be a former forest ranger asked to meet me at a diner near Marysville. Said he had information on the Yuba case. His voice was hushed, like someone was listening. He never gave his name. I found something buried, he whispered. Something that shouldn't be up there. He didn't show, but 3 days later, a package arrived at my apartment. Inside, a map marked with an X far north of where the car was found, old Polaroids, scratched audio tape, and a note. They found the cabin. It was never supposed to be found. I listened to the tape. Static, then breathing, then something else. Scraping, like claws on wood, and a voice wet and gurgling, speaking backwards. The trail in, I wasn't stupid. I hired a local guide named Jesse Garza, former military, rugged type. We left in early March 1993, snow still thick on the slopes. It took 2 days to reach the coordinates. Nights were bitter, but the deeper we hiked, the quieter everything became. Birds stopped singing. Even Jesse commented on it. Forest's too still, he said. Even the wind feels off. The 3rd morning, we found it. The cabin. It was old, half buried in snow and pine. Door hanging loose, windows black, and despite no sign of recent use, it smelled. Thick, metallic, and sweet, like rot and iron. Inside, we found carvings, symbols etched into the wood. Not letters, shapes, spirals, eyes and blood. Dark, crusted into the walls. Then we heard it, from beneath the floorboards, dripping. Below the cabin, Jesse found the trapdoor first, hidden beneath an old rug. I should have told him to stop, should have turned around, but I didn't. The staircase led down into cold stone, not dirt, stone, old, mossy, and damp. It spiraled, far deeper than any cellar had a right to. And at the bottom, we found them. 5 chairs, rusted metal, bolted to the floor. Leather straps rotted, hanging like tongues. And in the center, a well. Not water, just darkness. Jesse leaned over it. "It's warm," he whispered. The whisper answered him back. Identical. His exact words. "It's warm." The voice of the hollow. We ran, back up the stairs. But they weren't the same. The steps stretched, walls narrowed. Time didn't feel right. When we reached the cabin again, it was night, though it had been morning when we went down. And Jesse, he wasn't Jesse anymore. His eyes were unfocused. His voice echoed strangely. He kept repeating phrases I'd said hours ago. When I asked him if he was okay, he just whispered, "It's listening." That night I woke to him standing over me, muttering. I grabbed the flashlight. His mouth was open, too wide. A second voice echoed from within it. "We remember." The hollowing out, I left him, took the pack, the map, and ran. But the woods had changed. Trails looped. Trees leaned where they hadn't. I was bleeding from thorns that weren't there before. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. Every hour I heard Jesse's voice behind me. "Adam, it's warm." Eventually I found a ranger station, collapsed, frostbitten, feverish. They didn't believe a word, said Jesse was probably lost. I tried to go back with a search party, but the cabin wasn't there, just snow and silence. What I found later, over the years I kept digging. Couldn't stop. The Yuba 5. Matthias had a military father, had spent time in survival school, but the files on his psychological condition, sealed, and Sterling's family, moved away overnight. I found something worse.